Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. In this video, I'm going to show you guys some comics that I recently picked up. And in all honesty, not all of these books are recent for me. I actually owned a couple of these books back in the day. When I was a kid, I used to spend summers with my great-grandmother in a place called Roseville, Michigan. And as you would imagine from the name Roseville and from my great-grandmother, I didn't have a whole lot of fun, to be honest with you. But what my grandmother would do is she would give me the pop bottles and allow me to walk to the corner store. It was a store called Mr. C's. And I would change in the pop bottles for cash. And I would buy Mr. C's pizza. They had these wonderful squares of pizza for 77 cents. And they would wrap them in tinfoil. And they would be just the hottest, cheesiest, gooeyest, most delicious thing you could ever have. And if I wasn't buying Mr. C's pizza, I was walking an extra block to actually hit up an antique shop where I would buy comics and then go back home and read those comics and kind of entertain myself for a little bit. So a couple of the books that I'm going to show you are books that I actually owned previously, and somehow or another over time they got away from me, but I am now the owner of those books all over again. Now, why did I go out and buy these books? I bought them because of some recent news that you may have already heard about. There's a guy that basically went out and bought the catalog, the library for Atlas Comics. And Atlas Comics has a history that is somewhat intertwined with Stan Lee and Marvel Comics and Martin Goodman, etc., etc. But this guy bought this library of characters, this source material, and has plans to actually bring these characters to life in movies. And so he has actually signed a first look deal with Paramount. And so he has the source material. He is setting up a writer's room for the creative types to get together to brainstorm what characters they want to bring to life and how they want to do it. And he has this deal set up with Paramount to be able to release these movies if they so choose to execute the option. So it is actually a quite interesting situation. He has a fantastic library and has plans to basically release one movie a year starting in 2021. So over the next year and a half or so, these writers are going to be looking at all this source material. They're going to be creating these 10 outlines of potential movies that could be created. They're going to select one of them. They're going to go into production in 2020 and hopefully will release one movie by 2021 and then one movie every year after that. So it's really an exciting time. And I think they kind of talked about the fact that it's a little unprecedented to be able to reach out and find a library of rich source material that hasn't ever really been touched before. And so this could be a really exciting time. And I've said this before, that we are living essentially in the golden age where we are seeing our comic book characters and heroes and villains come to life on the big screen in a dramatic fashion. And it doesn't seem like it's going to slow down anytime soon. So I don't know about you, but I am pumped. So when I heard this news, I immediately jumped online, started to look for this source material so that I could be ahead of the curve instead of playing catch up. And so many of the books that I'm going to be showing you right now are books that are essentially part of that library that has just been purchased and may eventually be made into a movie. And so why not buy them cheap if you can? So the first one is Tarantula #1. And I don't know that I've seen very many pink comic book covers, and this is definitely an interesting one. It has a couple of spine ticks over here, but it is par for the course. It's a very fine, so some of that is to be expected, but Tarantula #1 is one of them. Next up is Cougar #1, and this is from Atlas Comics, and it is as you look at their books, their style is very, very consistent. Next up is #1 of Tiger Man. I have not read these, but I am actually looking forward to reading this. I'm literally going to jump online as soon as I finish recording this video and try to find copies of this to actually read. And many of these books are a little damaged, which is, to be expected. This one is This one is has a couple of spine ticks. This is the Scorpion #1. And I may actually try to find additional copies, maybe higher grade copies, but we'll see what I'm able to find out there. Here is Iron Jaw #1. If that doesn't look a little like Conan the Barbarian with a metal jaw, I don't know what is. Next up, Target. Target #1 with 2 T's. You gotta love it. You gotta love this stuff. My hard part is trying to figure out which one or which ones I want to read first. Next up, Brute. This dude is massive. Is he man, ape, or monster? Knight of the Brute #1. There you go. Next up, this is one that is directly from my childhood. I remember seeing this one on the shelf at the antique store. I remember buying this book. This one is cool. Destructor #1. This is one of those books that, again, as an adult, I can close my eyes and remember this cover. Destructor #1. And it was written, I believe, by Stan Lieber. I'm sorry, by Larry Lieber, Stan Lee's brother. Very cool. I did not know that. Very cool. Born of Fury. All right, and I, of course, picked up #2, Destructor #2. Really nice copy of this book. And then the very last book is the one that sticks out in my mind the most from my childhood. From Atlas Comics, this is Phoenix #1. Definitely a cool book. I like this one so much. I actually bought 3 copies of it. 2 copies came in just today, and I have another copy elsewhere here in the room, but 2 really, really nice copies of this. One of the others that I picked up was a little sun faded, but these 2, they may look a little washed out in the light, but I think they are more vibrant than the other that I have. So there you have it. That is my haul of Atlas Comics. And again, you guys may have already heard about some of this by the time you watch this video, but hopefully you at least enjoy seeing the cool books that I picked up. As always, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you need to contact me, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects or via email at regiecollects@gmail.com. Take care.